There is a secret hidden in the human psyche, a truth older than all religions and philosophies, a truth buried deep beneath the masks you wear and the roles you play. It is the truth of your own inner light, the radiant source of meaning that no hand can steal and no shadow can diminish. When I speak of happiness, I do not mean the shallow comfort that comes from possessions or the fleeting joy that arises when the world happens to agree with your desires. No, I speak of a happiness that is not dependent on external circumstances, a kind of inner equilibrium that remains untouched even when the winds of fate tear down the walls you have built. I have seen too many souls who tether their worth to what others give them or take away, as though the essence of their being were a fragile coin that could be stolen by a careless thief. But this is not so. The true self, the deep self, is beyond the reach of thieves and tyrants. It exists beneath the surface of your conscious mind, waiting for you to descend into its depths and recognize that what is eternal within you cannot be lost. We live in a world obsessed with taking. People will take your time, your attention, your energy, and if you let them, they will take the very narrative of your life. You are trained from childhood to measure happiness by what you can hold, what you can control, what you can show to others. And yet, happiness becomes fragile under this model. For every gift of the world is impermanent. The wealth you hold today can vanish tomorrow. The love you crave can turn cold. The approval you seek can shift like sand underfoot. It is no wonder that so many live in fear, clutching at happiness as though it were a candle flame about to be snuffed out. But the truth is that happiness, in its deepest form, is not something you hold in your hand. It is something you awaken within yourself. And this awakening comes only when you dare to face the hidden forces of your psyche, when you confront the archetypes that rule your unconscious mind, and when you integrate the shadow that lies beneath the mask of who you pretend to be. When I speak of the shadow, I do not speak of evil as the world often imagines it. The shadow is not the monster under your bed, nor the demon lurking in others. It is rather the part of yourself you refuse to acknowledge, the feelings you bury because they do not fit the image you want to project. It contains anger, fear, envy, and despair, but it also contains power, creativity, and unclaimed vitality. Every time someone takes something from you, be it respect, a recognition, or affection, you feel as though they are stealing a piece of your soul. But in truth, they are merely touching the surface, stirring the unexamined depths where your shadow dwells. To remain happy no matter what they take, you must first descend into this shadow, for it is only in understanding your own darkness that you become unshakable. A tree with shallow roots is easily uprooted by the storm, but a tree whose roots reach deep into the dark soil stands firm against the fiercest winds. There is a dream that comes to many who are on the path of self-discovery. In the dream, a house appears often, an old, unfamiliar house, sometimes crumbling, sometimes filled with hidden rooms. This house is the symbol of the psyche, and its rooms represent the layers of your consciousness. Most people live only on the top floor, where the windows let in light and where guests can visit This is the realm of your persona, the mask you show to the world. But beneath this floor lie other rooms, dusty attics of forgotten memories, basements filled with fears, cellars where you have locked away your own desires. If someone breaks into this house and steals the furniture on the top floor, you may feel exposed and violated. But if you know the house well, if you have walked through every room, opened every door, and faced every shadowy corner, you will know that your true treasures are buried deeper than any thief can reach. Happiness, then, is not found in protecting the top floor, but in knowing the whole house and realizing that the essence of who you are resides in a place no one can plunder. Consider the archetype of the thief itself. The thief is not always a person outside of you. Sometimes the thief lives within, disguised as your own inner critic, stealing your joy by whispering that you are unworthy. Sometimes the thief is your past, taking from your present moment by filling your mind with regrets and shame. Sometimes the thief is your future, robbing you of peace by flooding you with anxiety about what is yet to come. To stay happy, no matter what is taken from you, you must recognize these inner thieves and confront them with courage. The critic, the past, and the anxious future are all shadows that gain power only when you refuse to look them in the eye. But when you turn toward them, when you speak their names and ask them what they want to teach you, you begin to see that they are not enemies, but messengers from the unconscious. Ache, shadow, once integrated, becomes a source of strength. Imagine for a moment a person standing on the edge of a vast forest at night. They are terrified of the dark, convinced that the forest hides dangerous creatures. And yet, if they enter the forest with courage, they may find that it holds not only danger, but also beauty, wisdom, and the keys to their own freedom. The forest is the unconscious mind, and your happiness depends on your willingness to walk into it. When the world takes something from you, whether it is a job, a relationship, or a sense of safety, it is as though you are pushed to the edge of that forest. You have a choice to remain paralyzed in fear, longing for what was lost, or to step forward into the darkness and discover what lies beyond. Those who find true happiness are those who step forward. They learn that happiness is not about avoiding loss, but about cultivating an inner landscape so rich, so alive, that nothing the outer world takes can diminish it. I have often said that people are not disturbed by things, but by the meaning they attach to things. This is why two people can face the same loss and respond in entirely different ways. One is shattered while the other emerges stronger, as though the loss carved a new space within them for light to enter. What makes the difference is not the event itself, but the level of consciousness with which it is faced. If your happiness is bound to external possessions, relationships, or outcomes, then every loss will feel like a personal attack. But if your happiness flows from a deeper connection to your soul, to the self, to the archetypal roots of your being, then loss becomes a teacher rather than a destroyer. You may weep, yes, for the pain of loss is real, but beneath the weeping there is a knowing that what is most essential cannot be taken. This knowing is the foundation of unshakable happiness. The path to this kind of happiness is not easy. It requires a willingness to confront illusions, to strip away the false beliefs that have been handed to you by society, family, and culture. Society tells you that happiness is found in success, in wealth, in the approval of others. But what happens when those things are taken away? Are you then condemned to despair? No. These outer forms are but shadows of a deeper reality. The true source of happiness lies in individuation, the process of becoming who you truly are, not who the world expects you to be. Individuation is a journey inward, a journey that requires you to meet every part of yourself, to integrate the opposites within you, and to find a center that is not dependent on the shifting tides of life. When you stand at this center, you can watch as things come and go, as people give and take, without losing your balance, to remain happy no matter what they take from you. You must first loosen your grip on what you thought was yours. You see, much of your suffering is not caused by the loss itself, but by the belief that you cannot live without what was lost. This belief is born from the ego, from the persona that craves security and recognition. The ego is a fragile construct built to navigate the world, but it is not your true essence. When the ego feels threatened, when something is taken from it, it screams in fear because it believes its survival depends on those external forms. But beneath the ego lies the self, vast and untouchable. The self is like an underground spring, endlessly flowing with life and meaning. Even if the surface is scorched by the heat of fate, the spring remains pure and alive, waiting to rise again. To connect with the self is to know a happiness that cannot be shaken because it does not depend on the approval of others or on the possessions you hold. It is a happiness that arises from alignment with your own deepest nature. When I have worked with individuals in the depths of their suffering, I have noticed a peculiar transformation that occurs when they finally surrender. At first, they fight, they cling to the past, they blame the world for its injustices. They cannot imagine life without the things or people that were taken from them. But when the storm has raged long enough, when the ego is exhausted from resisting, there comes a moment of silence. In that silence, something breaks open. Not in despair, but in revelation. They see that what they lost was never truly theirs to begin with. They realize that life is a series of deaths and rebirths, and that every loss is a gateway to a deeper connection with their inner world. This is when true happiness begins to emerge, not as a wild burst of pleasure, but as a quiet, steady flame. To cultivate such happiness, one must learn to speak with the unconscious. Dreams are the language of the unconscious, and they will guide you if you learn to listen. When you lose something, when someone takes from you, notice the dreams that come. Often, a dream will reveal the hidden meaning behind your suffering. You might dream of a broken object, of a house collapsing, or of a beloved figure disappearing into the mist. These are not random images, they are messages from the psyche, urging you to release your attachments and to find the treasure buried beneath the ruins. The treasure is always within you, but you cannot see it when you are fixated on the surface world. Dreams pull you into the symbolic realm where the soul speaks in metaphors. If you can interpret these symbols, you will begin to see that even in loss, there is a path to wholeness. Consider the archetype of the phoenix, the bird that burns in fire only to rise again from its own ashes. This archetype lives within you every time you face a great loss. You are offered a chance to die to your old self and be reborn as something stronger, wiser, and freer. But most people resist the fire. They cling to the old form and curse the flames for their destruction. What they do not see is that the fire is a gift. It consumes only what is false, what is temporary, what no longer serves your growth. If you can trust the fire, if you can let it burn away your illusions, you will discover that happiness arises not from holding on, but from surrendering to the process of transformation. This surrender is not passive. It is an act of courage, for it means facing the unknown, stepping into the mystery without guarantees. Yet, it is precisely in the unknown that your true strength lies. You may ask, how can I remain happy when someone betrays me? When they take my love and twist it into something cruel. Betrayal is one of the deepest wounds a soul can experience, because it shakes our faith not only in others, but in ourselves. Yet, betrayal also reveals where our trust has been misplaced. It forces us to confront the truth of our attachments and the illusions we built around other people. Often, we do not love the person as they are. We love the image we have created of them. When that image shatters, it feels like a theft. But what is taken is not love itself, it is the illusion. And once the illusion is gone, you are free to see both yourself and others more clearly. This clarity is painful, but it is also liberating. It opens the door to a deeper, more authentic happiness, one that is not dependent on false expectations. I once encountered a man who believed he had lost everything when his business collapsed. His identity, his sense of worth, was tied entirely to his success in the world. When that success was taken from him, he fell into despair. But in the depths of that despair, he began to dream of a dark cave. In the dream, he was afraid to enter, for he believed a monster lived within. Yet, one night, he found the courage to step inside. To his surprise, he found not a monster, but a treasure chest filled with light. This dream was his psyche's way of showing him that what he thought was a monster failure was actually a doorway to self-discovery. When he understood this, he began to see that the collapse of his business was not the end, but the beginning of a new life. He discovered gifts within himself that no one could ever take: creativity, resilience, and a deep understanding of his own worth. This is the power of the unconscious. It transforms what is taken from you into an opportunity to reclaim something greater, happiness, then is not a static state, but a dynamic relationship with life's ebb and flow. It is the ability to move with the tides of change rather than resist them. This requires a certain faith, not faith in an external deity or in luck, but faith in the intelligence of your own psyche. Your unconscious mind is not your enemy. It is a vast reservoir of wisdom that knows how to guide you toward wholeness. When you resist loss, you are resisting the natural movement of your own growth. But when you accept it, when you ask, what is this loss trying to teach me? You open the door to a new level of consciousness. At this level, happiness is no longer something you chase. It is something you embody, something that radiates from within regardless of the circumstances. Let me tell you this. You cannot be truly happy until you have made peace with the possibility of losing everything. This sounds harsh, but it is true. As long as your happiness depends on things remaining exactly as they are, you will live in constant fear of change. Fear and happiness cannot coexist. But when you understand that everything external is temporary, your possessions, your relationships, even your body, you begin to turn inward, seeking a source of joy that is not bound by time or circumstance. This inner joy is not a fleeting emotion. It is a state of being. It arises when you are aligned with your true self, when you are living in harmony with the archetypes that shape your soul's journey. The archetype of the hero is one such force. The hero's journey always involves loss, losing the familiar world, losing comfort, losing certainty. Yet, through these losses, the hero gains something far more valuable, the knowledge of who they really are. Every loss you experience is an invitation to your own hero's journey. Will you answer the call, or will you cling to the old world, lamenting what has been taken? The hero is not happy because life is easy. The hero is happy because they have found meaning in the struggle. Meaning is the soil in which true happiness grows. Without meaning, happiness withers like a plant deprived of water. Meaning arises when you recognize that every experience, whether it appears as gain or loss, has been placed in your path as part of a larger pattern. This pattern is not random. It is the language of the psyche. The unfolding of the self through time. When you suffer a loss, the instinctive response is to see it as an attack, as though life has singled you out for cruelty. But life is not cruel. It is relentless in its demand that you evolve. It strips away what is no longer needed, not because it wants you to suffer, but because it wants you to awaken, to stay happy no matter what they take from you. You must learn to see beyond the event itself and glimpse the archetypal story that is playing out. You are not merely a victim of circumstances. You are a participant in an eternal drama, one that has been lived by countless souls before you. Think of the myth of Persephone, taken into the underworld by Hades. To the surface mind, this was a tragedy, a violent theft. Yet, beneath the surface, it was a necessary descent. Persephone's journey into the darkness allowed her to claim a deeper power, to become the queen of the underworld as well as the goddess of spring. This myth teaches us that when something is taken from us, we are often being called into an underworld of our own psyche. It feels like death, like a cruel abduction. But in that darkness lies a secret sovereignty. When you learn to navigate your own underworld, your fears, your grief, your shadows, you emerge with a happiness that is not naive or shallow, but wise and enduring. It is the happiness of one who has looked into the abyss and found that it cannot destroy them. Many people ask, how can I trust life when it takes so much from me? The answer lies not in trusting life to give you what you want, but in trusting yourself to find meaning in whatever life brings. This is not resignation. It is empowerment. The moment you decide that your happiness will not be defined by what others give or take, you become free. Imagine for a moment a candle flame. If the flame is exposed to every gust of wind, it will flicker and die. But if it is shielded within a lantern, it can withstand the storm. Your inner light is that flame, and the lantern is built from self-knowledge, from the integration of all your inner parts, your shadow, your persona, your anima or animus, your inner child, and your wise self. When these parts are acknowledged and embraced, they form a whole that no external force can shatter. Let us speak of the anima and animus for a moment, for these archetypes play a profound role in our sense of happiness. The anima, the inner feminine within a man, and the animus, the inner masculine within a woman, are bridges to the unconscious. When these archetypes are ignored or repressed, we project them onto others, seeking completion through relationships. We believe our happiness depends on someone else, on their love, their presence, their approval. But when that person leaves or changes, our happiness collapses because we have placed it outside ourselves. The path to enduring happiness is to reclaim these projections, to integrate the anima and animus within. When you realize that the love, strength, and wisdom you seek in others already reside within your own psyche, you become whole. And when you are whole, no one can take your happiness, because it is no longer a fragile reflection in another's eyes. It is a fire that burns from within. There is a paradox here. To find happiness that cannot be taken, you must first allow yourself to feel the full weight of your losses. Many try to bypass their pain, to leap directly to positivity or spiritual platitudes. But what is repressed will always return. If you ignore your grief, it will haunt you in dreams, in unexplained anxieties, in subtle bitterness. True happiness does not come from avoiding the darkness, but from moving through it. Just as a seed must break open in the dark soil to grow, you must let yourself break open in times of loss. This breaking is not the end of you. It is the beginning of a deeper self. When you dare to feel the full depth of your sorrow, you discover a surprising truth. Beneath the sorrow lies a quiet peace, a space untouched by external events. This space is your true home. In this home, you are no longer at the mercy of other people's actions. You no longer measure your worth by what is given or taken. Instead, you stand rooted in your own being. This does not mean you become cold or detached. On the contrary, you become more capable of love, because your love is no longer a bargain, no longer a plea for validation. It is a gift freely given, because it flows from a place of abundance within you. When someone takes from you, they cannot diminish this abundance, because it is not based on scarcity or fear. It is the nature of the self to give, to shine, to create. When you live from the self, you realize that nothing is truly lost. It only changes form. You might ask, but what about injustice? What about those who harm us intentionally? It is true that the world contains cruelty, and that some people will take not out of need, but out of malice. Yet, even in these cases, your response determines your freedom. If you allow their actions to poison your heart, to make you bitter or hateful, then they have taken more than the object of their theft. They have taken your spirit. But if you meet their actions with understanding, not condoning, but understanding, you remain free. Every act of cruelty arises from ignorance, from a disconnection from the self. Those who harm others are ruled by their own shadows, by fears and wounds they cannot face. When you see this, you may still protect yourself and set boundaries, but you will not let their darkness infect you. This, too, is a form of happiness, the power to remain whole even in the presence of injustice. Let me return to the image of the house, for it is a potent metaphor. If someone steals from the upper floor of your house, you may feel anger or fear, but if you have explored the basement, the attic, the hidden rooms, you know that the true treasures are not the furniture or the decorations, they are the foundations, the structure, the soul of the house. Your psyche is like this. Most people decorate the persona, polishing it for the world to see, but they neglect the deeper rooms. They are afraid to enter the basement, where old memories and emotions are stored. They are afraid to climb into the attic, where forgotten dreams gather dust. Yet, it is precisely in these hidden places that your true wealth lies. When you explore them, you realize that no one can truly rob you. They can take the surface trappings, but they cannot touch the core of who you are. Happiness that endures is like a flame hidden deep within the center of your being. It is not dependent on the winds that blow outside your house, nor on the seasons that come and go. It exists in a dimension of the psyche that is beyond time and change. When I speak of the self, I speak of this unchanging center, the place where the opposites within you, light and dark, joy and sorrow, love and fear, come into harmony. Most people live at the surface, tossed about by every emotional wave, because they have not yet made contact with this center. They believe their happiness is a reflection of outer events. When they are praised, they are happy. When they are criticized, they are miserable. When they gain, they feel alive. When they lose, they feel dead. But the one who knows the self sees through this illusion. They know that life's highs and lows are like the weather, constantly shifting, while the self remains like the mountain, unmoved and eternal. To reach this center, one must be willing to look inward with radical honesty. It is not enough to read about archetypes or to analyze dreams in an intellectual way. One must feel, one must descend into the depths of their own psyche with courage. This descent is not comfortable. It will ask you to face everything you have tried to avoid the pain of childhood wounds. The fear of death, the raw power of your own desires. But if you can bear this descent, if you can face your own shadow without turning away, you will discover a joy that is unlike anything the surface world can offer. It is a joy that comes from knowing that you are whole, that you are not defined by what others give or take, but by the vast mystery of being itself. There is a simple but profound practice that can help you begin this journey. Achte, sit in silence and ask yourself, what within me is untouchable? What remains, even when everything else falls away? At first, you may feel only the chatter of the mind, the worries and regrets that crowd your thoughts. But if you persist, if you watch these thoughts without clinging to them, you will begin to sense a deeper presence. It is like the quiet at the bottom of a deep lake, undisturbed by the ripples on the surface. This quiet presence is not just peace, it is the foundation of happiness. It is the self observing all things, yet bound by none. When you connect with this presence, you begin to see life differently. Loss no longer feels like the end, but like a transformation. You begin to see that every time something is taken, space is created for something new to emerge. Just as the forest thrives because trees fall and decay, your soul thrives because you allow old identities and attachments to die. There is a natural rhythm to life, a rhythm of creation and destruction, gain and loss. When you fight this rhythm, you suffer. When you flow with it, you find an unexpected happiness. Because you are no longer resisting the truth of existence, you become like the river that flows over rocks, adapting, finding new paths, always moving toward the sea. One of the greatest illusions we face is the belief that happiness is something to be pursued. We chase it in relationships, in accomplishments, in possessions. We run faster and faster, thinking that the next achievement, the next purchase, the next approval will finally make us happy. But happiness that is chased is always fleeting, because it is tied to conditions. True happiness arises not from chasing, but from being fully present, fully alive, fully willing to feel everything, both joy and sorrow, without clinging or resisting. It is in this presence that you discover a freedom beyond all taking and giving. You may wonder, how do I live this truth in the midst of a world that constantly demands, that constantly takes? The answer is not to withdraw from the world, but to engage with it from a place of inner strength, set boundaries where needed, protect your time and energy, but do so not out of fear or resentment, but out of love for the self. When you know who you are, when you are rooted in your own depth, you can give freely without losing yourself. You can endure losses without collapsing. You can face betrayals without becoming bitter, for you know that no one can truly take what is essential. They may take your possessions, your status, even your physical body, but they cannot touch the eternal light of the self. There is a dream I once heard from a woman who had suffered great loss. In the dream, she stood in a vast desert, her hands empty, her body weary. She felt as though she had been stripped of everything, but then she looked down and saw a single seed in her palm. Though the desert was harsh, she planted the seed, and as she waited, a small sprout emerged. The sprout grew into a tree, and beneath its shade she found peace. This dream is a symbol of the resilience of the human soul. Even when all seems lost, there is always a seed within you, a seed of life, of meaning, of happiness that can grow again if you tend to it. This seed is not dependent on external water or sunlight, for it draws nourishment from the deep well of the self. I want you to remember this. The world will always take, that is its nature. Seasons take the warmth of summer and bring the cold of winter. Time takes youth and replaces it with age. People come and go, often leaving behind a trail of both beauty and pain. But you are not these changing forms. You are the one who observes them, who moves through them, who transforms because of them. When you anchor your identity in this deeper truth, happiness becomes something you carry with you, like a hidden flame that lights your path, even when the night is darkest. As I speak to you now, I do not ask you to avoid suffering, nor to pretend that loss does not hurt. I ask you to honor your pain, to listen to it, to allow it to teach you. Pain is not the enemy of happiness. It is the crucible in which happiness is forged. Without darkness, you would never see the stars. Without winter, you would not cherish the return of spring. Life is a dance of opposites, and happiness arises not from choosing one side and rejecting the other, but from embracing the whole. This is the essence of individuation, the process of becoming whole. It is the path of integrating not only the light of your personality, but also the dark, mysterious depths of your unconscious. So when they take something from you, whether it is love, trust, or security, ask yourself, what part of me is this loss calling forth? What strength, what insight, what hidden treasure is waiting to be revealed? Every loss is an initiation. It strips you of illusions and pushes you closer to the truth. And the truth is this: you are not broken by what is taken. You are revealed by it. The core of your being, the self, is indestructible. Even now, as you listen, there is a light within you, steady and unwavering. It does not ask for permission to shine. It does not depend on the opinions of others. It does not waver when the world turns its back. This light is your birthright, the essence of your soul. Hold on to this truth, not with a desperate grip of fear, but with the quiet confidence of one who knows that nothing real can ever be lost. I'll leave you with this final thought. Happiness is not something you find. It is something you uncover layer by layer. As you peel away the masks, the fears, the false identities. It is the natural state of the self waiting beneath the noise of the world. No one can take it from you, because it was never given by them. It is yours, eternal, hidden in the depths of your being like a treasure buried in the earth. To claim it, you need only look within, face the shadow, and remember who you truly are.